In today's class, I'd like to continue our discussion of sleep. Today, we'll discuss the reasons why we sleep. In other words, we'll answer the question, why do people sleep? And you might find some of this especially interesting because I'll be discussing some of the interesting evidence on how sleep affects learning. We all know how it feels when we need sleep. We feel drowsy. We have trouble concentrating. But why do our bodies need sleep? It's a good question. Let's look a bit at some of the reasons. Scientists continue to do studies to learn more about exactly why humans need sleep. Interestingly enough, they aren't 100% sure. They don't know, for example, why human beings cannot simply rest, meaning lay down quietly, as insects do. But they do know some of the reasons why we sleep. We'll look at two of the reasons. Okay? One reason is that it helps our bodies recover. Sleep helps the body recover from all the work it did while the person was awake. This makes sense, right? Because we all know how bad we feel when we suffer from sleep deprivation. Okay. Studies show that there is another interesting reason why we sleep. These studies show that sleep is important for learning. It aids or helps learning. Well, let's look at how this works. As a person sleeps, the brain continues to work. It performs tasks like organizing long-term memory and integrating new information learned during the day, and physical tasks like repairing and renewing the nerve cells in the brain. This is really important for you as students. You'll be interested to know, in some experiments, a person trying to learn something doesn't actually learn it and improve the knowledge until after they have had more than 6 hours of sleep. And listen to this. It's surprising. A study done at Trent University in Ontario, Canada, suggested that students who studied hard all week and then stayed up all night partying on the weekend lost as much as 30% of what they had learned during the week. Why do you think this is true? It seems the brain needs time to file away some new information and skills in the proper places in the brain so that they can be found and used later. So, we know this about learning, but scientists want to know more. And one way scientists learn about the reasons we need to sleep is they look at what happens to people when they don't sleep enough, when they are deprived of sleep. Now, there are many studies done to learn about the effects of sleep deprivation. And these studies all show the same thing. Over time, sleep deprivation can have serious side effects. There are 3 areas that are most affected. There is impairment of our thinking ability, an impairment of our physical abilities, and also our moods, our psychological condition. is affected. Now let's look at some examples of how the thinking ability of the brain is affected by lack of sleep. Okay. Now this diagram of the brain, I'd like to look at just one part of the brain, the frontal lobe, the part of the brain that is at the forehead. Right here. You see it? Now right there at the front of the brain. So what does the frontal lobe do? Well, it helps the body with speech and with creative thinking. There have been some interesting studies that show that there is less activity in the frontal lobe when people are sleep deprived. So this means that people who are sleep deprived have difficulty with functions performed in the frontal lobe. So for example, when speech is affected, people are less able to speak clearly. Now, this means that their speech is slurred. They stutter or speak in a flat, monotone voice. They also speak at a slower than usual pace. Now, another example is sleep-deprived people don't have the speed or creative abilities to cope with making quick and logical decisions. And once they have made the decisions, they don't act on them very successfully. Studies have also shown that a lack of sleep impairs people's ability to focus on several different but related tasks at one time. This means, for instance, that tasks are done but more slowly and less efficiently. A good example of this is that a person can react to a complex problem, but similar to verbal tests, they will probably pick an unoriginal or easy solution. So you can see how important sleep is to the brain and to your performance in class and on tests, where speaking clearly and having creative answers are both very important skills. So for those of you who usually burn the candle at both ends, I want you to go home tonight and get a good night's sleep after you cram for tomorrow's quiz, of course. I'll see you tomorrow.